All right, guys. I got this ridiculous thing strapped to my head. All for your education, guys. I hope you appreciate it. This is the water-based cleaner. Remember I showed you, I talked about when I sanded this thing, how it had waterborne primer on it. The sand really nice. So I don't want to use anything harsh on it because it would kind of damage it a little bit, or possibly. So I normally won't wet something down this much, but I'm going to wipe this down twice. And these are lint-free towels. They're a little bit on the pricey side, but you kind of have to use them to keep to keep stuff from getting built up on the lint. Ends up in the paint and everything. So you guys bear with me as I wipe this thing down. I'm getting, again, all the nooks and crannies. And if you guys can see these things, we'll be cutting these out. These are only in there to hold it together during manufacturing and shipping. All right, I've wiped it off. Now I'm going to, we're gonna blow it off and tack it off. That is, as soon as I can find the, there it is, the blower. Apologize for the noise. The fan's running. A little bit of science. When I blow this thing off, it creates friction and it causes static, and just like static electricity. And if you wipe this off with something solvent based, I have actually seen them ignite and catch fire. But anyway, another thing that the static causes is static cling, and it'll cause dust and dirt and pieces of lint to stick to this. Now I'm going to run a tack rag over this before I start painting. That'll be the last thing I do. That's always the last thing you do, is run a tack rag over this part. I really need to sweep this booth up, but the advantage to this being a downdraft, if you see, that's where the air is coming from, and it all funnels down. So this stuff on the floor is not going to get up into this part. But it's also important that while I'm painting, I'd make sure that my gun is not blowing against the floor, and that would stir the pot, so to speak. It would stir all that dust up and get into my paint. So I'm going to shut this off and get a tack rag, get the paint in the gun, and get back in here. All right, guys, back in the mixing room. Give this one last stir. Hope you can see that. I'm going to put a lid on there. As you guys heard me talk before, these lids have the strainers already built into them. I'm going to put this cup on here. I'm going to kind of push it up, make sure that it's stuck all the way around, and it is. Got her locked down. I'm going to use this paint gun. I'm going to rob this regulator off of the gun that Mr. Millspaw was using the other day, because it belongs to the school. And I'm going to put it on this trusty DeVille. This thing sprays everything really great. Don't judge a book by its cover. This thing looks beat up and everything, but it's clean on the inside and it sprays nice. Now this cup, hopefully you can see this, as camera's aimed good. This thing locks on here like this. Then when I turn it over, it's already in there, strains the paint and everything as we go. Now again, it's going to get noisy in here. I'll put my gun on the gun hanger. Take this blower off. Hang this blower up here. Here's that tack rag. I told you this isn't a normal tack rag. It works just fine. And they were free, so I'm going to keep using them until we run out of them. But this tack rag, it's sticky, hence the name tack. It's sticky. Not real sticky, but sticky enough that it'll pick up any lint or lint particles or dust or anything like that. And again, as I'm wiping this down, I'm also creating static. And then I want to kind of keep that to a minimum, but there's not a lot I can do about it. It's just one of those things you got to keep in mind. Don't want to rub it too fast. All right. All right, folks. Now, probably not going to hit stop on the camera. Hopefully I'll be able to edit this up a little bit later and get both the footage from my phone and this in there. Now here's going to be the trick, is if I can get my respirator over top of this camera. Let's see what happens here. There, that's one coat. And let's see here, if you can see this panel. This boot has a feature. I'm going to hit this next arrow and it's going to kick on. I'm going to lower that temperature. It is cranked up there. I'm going to put it on. What that mode just did is the dry mode in between. What that's doing is that kicks those fans on in the corner of the booth. Can you see those are fans, those little nozzles there? They're blowing air out of there. And where this is waterborne paint, it doesn't dry from evaporation like solvent-based paint. We'll get into that. It dries from the air moving over top of it. Okay. It's been less than 5 minutes, but with those fans running, it really speeds things up. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to put this back in paint mode. Okay. And we're going to go in and put another coat on there. Again, I'm going to be putting my respirator up, so obviously I won't be able to talk to you. Matter of fact, we'll go look at it. We'll look at it together before I put the respirator up. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. See how it looks like there's scratches all in here? Believe it or not, they will be totally covered up. Looking pretty good. Some of you may be asking, well, how come you didn't seal it? Well, remember me talking about how good the primer was that was on here? I don't have to seal this, and the primer that was on here was black, so I just left it alone, and it cuts down on the materials bill. All right, guys, get ready to put my respirator on, coat 2. All right, it's been another maybe 4 minutes. I went in and checked it, it's fine. So we're gonna go back in here, put on another coat. And since this thing was black already, I think 3 coats is gonna be fine, and this paint covers really well. All right, I'll let that flash off. That's what we call it, flashing off. That's what it does in between coats. And that kind of refers to, you know how it's shiny when it goes dull? That's what we mean by flashing off. So I'm gonna shut this off. I'll go in there and check it in a minute. All right, I'm getting ready to go mix up the clear. I don't know if this camera is picking this up. I won't know until I edit it. But I want you to see if you can see these like scratches. I mean, it looks like, they look like scuff marks. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I just want to show you, I know you can see, if I film this with my camera, I know you'll be able, my phone, I know you'd be able to see it, but I don't want to keep switching back and forth. It's a pain in the neck to edit all this stuff. But I wanted to show you this because the minute I shoot clear on it, it's going to, they'll disappear. So you don't have to worry about them showing up. I'm going to go mix up some clear and come in here and shoot this thing. All right, guys. Now, we're going to mix up the clear. I'm going to grab the cup here. Hopefully, you can see all this. Yeah, looks like you can. Move this down just a touch. There we go. I'm going to grab a new liner for the cup. I'm back on my computer program here, and I've changed it. There's a button down here. I've already hit it that said coatings and sundries. And then I come down and I find my clear that I'm going to be using, and it's right here. Going to light it up. Going to hit continue. And again, this here is, it just tells me how much I need, but that's not accurate. So I'm going to clear that out, and I'm going to mix up 12 ounces of clear. We're going to hit weigh. Now this is going to, it's going to ask me to place the can on the scale and hit continue. That zeroes out all the scales and everything. Now this clear is just 2 to 1. Now when I refer to this as we're going to mix this on the scales, all this is done by weight. I probably should have said that earlier. This just gives you a really accurate measurement, but you can also, there's marks on these cups, if you can see those marks. And then this particular clear is mixed 2 to 1, which is right there. And you would just bring it up to, if I wanted to mix up this amount, I'd put it to that mark and then put it to that mark. But we're going to do it on the scales just so I can show you how it's done. And I can be off a little bit on this. It's not like the color. I mean, I want to be as close as I can, but it doesn't have to be right on the money because we're not dealing with color matching or anything. I just want to get it obviously as close as I can, and that's where we're gonna go. See how see how that's dark green? If I wasn't close enough, see, look at that. Do I want to recalculate this mix? Yes, I do. And what it's going to do is, it's changing, because I went over, it's changing how much hardener I'm going to put in there, so I still end up with the right mix. Now, since this is 2-to-1, guys, not that this matters, but you'll notice that that number right there is half of what that is. It said over pour, but it was barely at all, so we're not going to recalibrate that. Okay, now I'm going to stir that up. And we're going to go in the booth. All right, guys. Every time I come in here with paint in the gun before I spray it towards the car, especially with clear in the gun, I always pull the trigger, just the air, and this thing will spit a little bit. You probably couldn't see it, but a little bit of solvent came out of there. If that were to hit the bumper, it would cause a problem. Now I'm going to go over, and in this case, I'm going to hold this thing so I can see my pattern. Oh yeah, my pattern's good. Everything's opened up. Now what I'm going to do is, since I went and had lunch, you do this anyway, I always do a light tack down over the base that I put on to get any little bits of lint, and actually there was a little bit of lint in there on there before I wipe this down. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put my respirator on, so I won't be able to talk. First coat of clear. We're only going to put 2 on. Now guys, unlike with the base coat, I'm not going to kick this thing over because we want this clear to flow out. And if I turn those fans on, not only will it stir up stuff in the shop that could, or in the paint booth that could potentially end up in the paint job, it'll cause it to dry too fast. And I want it to flow out so it's as smooth as possible. So we're gonna give that about 5 to 8 minutes. I'll come back in, put another coat on. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna touch the bumper somewhere where it's not gonna affect anything. Like this is covered up by the grill. I'm gonna touch it, see if you can see. It's still too wet, needs another couple minutes. All right guys, I'm gonna go in here, check it again. Okay, that's what I want. See how it's just barely got those little hairs coming off when I pull it. I don't know if you can see that. She's ready for another coat. All right, time that clear, or measured that just right. You see it's totally empty. See how it, let me see if I can show you. It sucked all the clear right out of there. Now I just gotta clean out the gun. We'll go in there and check it out in just a second. Let me get this gun cleaned out. I'm not sure if I mentioned it when I started, but this is the clear gun. It's an Iwata. The gun that I sprayed the base with, it will spray clear, and it sprays clear very well, but this gun is specifically designed to atomize the clear. It does a really good job. I just wanted to take you a second and show it to you.